Helmut Marko has just lit a firestorm that's shaking the Formula One world to its core. And this time, the target isn't Lewis Hamilton or even the FIA. It's George Russell. In a shocking twist after the controversial Canadian Grand Prix, Marko has gone on the offensive, accusing the Mercedes driver of deliberately trying to set up Max Verstappen, not just to gain a position, but to trigger a race-altering penalty that could have pushed the reigning world champion over the edge. That's right. Red Bull believe Russell didn't just brake-check Verstappen or get caught up in the chaos behind the safety car. They believe he engineered the situation with full awareness of Max's precarious 11-point penalty status, knowing that one wrong move could mean a ban. And this isn't just speculation. Marko and Red Bull's inner circle are framing this as a calculated ploy, accusing Russell of playing games with Verstappen's title, hopes in full view of the world, and the FIA. According to Red Bull insiders, this wasn't racing. It was politics, psychological warfare, and if they're right, it could mark a dangerous escalation in the already bitter rivalry between Red Bull and Mercedes, especially now that Russell is no longer playing second fiddle, but leading the charge. What's more, the fact that Verstappen didn't take the bait, that he managed to keep his composure despite being set up so blatantly. That's being seen inside Red Bull as a quiet but powerful victory. But the war is far from over, and Marko's explosive words have ensured one thing: the tension between these two teams is now boiling over. So hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and make sure to stay until the end of the video, because what you're about to discover goes far beyond a safety car incident. This is about mind games, reputation, and a Red Bull camp that's clearly had enough. What's becoming increasingly clear is that this isn't just a one-off incident or a fleeting controversy. This is a slow-building storm that's pulling in more than just Verstappen and Russell. It's enveloping the entire paddock. With Verstappen's penalty points sitting on a knife's edge, every on-track interaction is now laced with suspicion. Every defensive move, every braking point, every overtaking attempt is dissected, not only by stewards, but by rival teams looking for the slightest justification to lodge a complaint, to trigger a review, to tilt the balance ever so slightly in their favour. When championships are won and lost by fractions of seconds or one misjudged call, that kind of psychological pressure is far more corrosive than anything that can be thrown on the track. From Red Bull's perspective, they see a pattern. They believe George Russell's move in Montreal wasn't just spontaneous. They see it as a tactical continuation of the mind games that began in Spain. When Verstappen collided with Russell in Barcelona and picked up 3 more penalty points, it put the entire grid on alert. Suddenly, every driver knew that Verstappen had no margin for error left, and that knowledge, in the hands of experienced competitors, becomes a tool, a subtle but dangerous weapon. Brake just a fraction too early. Force your rival to react. Let the rules take care of the rest. It's the kind of psychological trap that requires no contact, no foul, just pressure and plausible deniability. Christian Horner's comments after the race only underscore how seriously Red Bull is taking this threat. The fact that they proactively spoke to the FIA before the Canadian Grand Prix, warning them of potential gamesmanship, reveals a team on high alert, not just about performance, but about manipulation. Horner's words weren't about sour grapes. They were a warning shot, a signal that Red Bull is watching, recording, documenting every interaction around Verstappen with the vigilance of a team that knows their title. Hopes could be undone not by speed, but by politics. Meanwhile, over at Mercedes, the tone is very different. Toto Wolff dismissed the entire episode as theatre, downplaying Red Bull's accusations as overblown and unnecessary. In his view, Verstappen wasn't even the one who pushed the issue. The protest came from the pit wall, not from the cockpit. That's exactly what Wolff wants to highlight. The contrast between a calm, composed Verstappen and a Red Bull team that he paints as paranoid and reactionary. It's classic psychological warfare in its own right. By portraying Red Bull as rattled, Mercedes strengthens their own image of control. And in the tightly wound world of Formula One, perception can be just as valuable as points. But the tension isn't just between the teams. It's now starting to affect the drivers as well. Verstappen, who is normally aggressive and unapologetically dominant, has had to change his approach. He knows that one mistake, even one that isn't his fault, could sideline him for an entire Grand Prix. That's a terrifying prospect for any driver, let alone one chasing another world title. And Russell, whether intentionally or not, is now being painted as the face of a strategy designed to weaponize that pressure. It's a role he might not have sought out, but it's one he's certainly not shying away from. What's fascinating is how subtle this entire situation is. We're not talking about dive bombs or dirty overtakes. We're talking about brake temperatures, car lengths, mirror glances, the kind of microscopic details that usually go unnoticed unless something goes very, very wrong. But now, in this ultra-sensitive environment, those details matter. Every driver knows that when Verstappen is behind them, it's not just about defending a position. It's about holding the power to trigger a championship-altering penalty. And that changes everything. Even within Red Bull, the tone has shifted. Helmut Marko's language has become more forceful, more urgent. His frustration isn't just about this one incident. It's about what it represents. A shift in the way the sport is being played. A blurring of the lines between competition and manipulation, and perhaps a warning that the gloves are now off. Red Bull is clearly done playing nice, and if they sense their rivals are willing to exploit Verstappen's situation, they'll fight back. On the track, in the steward's room, and in the court of public opinion. This is no longer just a battle between drivers. It's a clash of ideologies, of teams with vastly different approaches to pressure, to rules, to the grey areas that define so much of Formula One. And with every Grand Prix that passes, the stakes only grow higher. Because if Verstappen manages to navigate this minefield without picking up another penalty point, it'll be a masterclass in restraint. But if he doesn't, if someone succeeds in baiting him, or if the FIA makes one more controversial call, consequences will shake the championship to its core. That's why this moment matters so much, because it reveals what kind of fight we're really in for this season. Not just one of lap times and pit stops, but of strategy, psychology, and survival. The next race could be explosive, because now everyone's watching Verstappen. Everyone's watching Russell, and most of all, everyone's watching the FIA. What they decide to tolerate, and what they choose to punish, may well define how history remembers the 2025 season. So stay tuned. This isn't just a rivalry, it's a chess match, a war of attrition, and every move counts. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss a single moment. Because this story isn't just continuing, it's accelerating. And the next chapter might be even more controversial than the last.